Hello, everyone, and Merry Christmas. Today, I want to talk about how I overcame my trauma and my fear. If you haven't seen my last video, you should watch that. It's about how I died and came back to life. And with all that, that obviously comes with a lot of trauma, a lot of fear. Um, it was a very long process afterwards. I went into denial big time. I didn't want to think that I had a problem, especially one that was perpetuated by stress and anxiety. Um, I wanted to think that I was completely fine, and that one moment where I had to have my heart restarted was just a fluke and just something that would never happen again because everything was just off that day. But about a month afterwards, I was back at home and I got checked to go to the cardiologist, and he told me that I had to go in for a procedure almost immediately, as soon as possible. Is how he put it, and that really scared me. Heart surgery sounds awfully terrifying. Um, so I couldn't really deny it too much longer. So I tried to go to just distract myself as much as I could before got my surgery. I had to go in for a lot of tests and stuff, but it took about 2 to 3 months afterwards, probably about 2 months before I had to go get my heart procedure called ablation, heart ablation. They went through my veins to ablate the extra node in my heart. But it was really a hard process, and yeah, mostly during that period of getting checked by the cardiologist to having my heart ablation, mostly just denial, distraction, downplaying the problem. But even afterwards, I had my heart ablation, but I still they went in. It's really complicated, but I have full Parkinson's White syndrome, so I have an extra node. When they went in to ablate it, they realized I have another extra node, so I have double of Parkinson's. So they ablated one, then they tried to ablate the other, but it healed back over. They found out after surgery. It was a long surgery because there was two different nodes, and it took about 7 hours or something. So they had to wake me up. And after I woke up, they realized it didn't work for the second node. So they asked me if I want to do it again, and I was like, no, I'm good. I think this meant to be like this whole problem. If you've seen my last video, you'll know why. It just feels like it, like, all right, I have to put my trust and protection in God, and that I'll be okay. Um, so from there, I had to figure out how to get rid of like all my trauma. And kind of like what I just said, I had to accept that it was part of my plan. Um, if you've never gone through trauma before, it feels like a barrier has been broken in your mind of what you thought was possible. Um, I, you know, I did ever thought that I would die suddenly at 21. So it really kind of opened the door to, oh man, now that that can happen, now anything can happen. I could die on the side of the road. I could get in a car crash tonight. I could, meteor shower can hit my house or something. Anything can happen. That's what kind of trauma felt like to me. And I had to tell myself, that the reason I died and came back to life, that was for a purpose. God allowed it for a purpose. Um, and I had to keep telling myself that and keep believing it. And eventually, I came to like the understanding that that is in fact what happened. I rejected God's protection on that night, and then um, I got it. You know, through His mercy, I survived, and I'm here for a reason. Maybe to tell my story, maybe to tell people how to get over trauma or fear. But since then, I've had some more problems, but I've never had to have my heart restarted, luckily. And I have medication now, and since I've been taking medication, I haven't had a problem in over 3 years. Um, so yeah, the trauma's mostly gone. There's things that I had to get used to, like reverberations and sounds and music, and just had like bass is too high up. It felt like getting shocked with the or AED pack, and so I had to just over time get used to it and be like, okay, it's okay, I'll be all right. But after I was able to overcome that, I had other little fears that were just kind of random stuff like public embarrassment stuff, and I thought to myself like, well, if I'm not afraid of death anymore because of that experience I went through, and I'm over trauma, why am I afraid of these like little fears of public embarrassment, or a fear of heights, or a lot of random things. And I realized like I had to cut those out too, because it almost felt like, what's the point of being not afraid of death if I'm afraid of like all the little things. Like public embarrassment was a problem for me for a little bit. And around that time I started getting into David Goggins and going to the gym a lot, and he really helped me out, especially with the fear factor of like, no, like you need to sit with your demons and look them in the face and be like, hey, like there's no other way around this. I'm just going to go through with it. Visiting the doctors has always been probably one of the hardest things I could do now, just because I feel like they're just going to tell me, because of how many times I denied my heart problem, that they're just going to come out and be like, oh, you have this random disease that is uncurable and you're going to die, or, oh man, like we can't feel your pulse, like what's going on. Like I've had a lot of fears with that just because of my trauma, and not a lot of people understand my condition. It's very rare, so it's almost like, especially with the nurses, like I have to tell them what's wrong. I have to tell them what my problem is, because they don't really get it. Most people haven't seen the condition before, haven't even seen it on a I forget what you call it, but when they check your pulse and it comes out on a graph. So yeah, but I had to, just be like, you know whatever. Like I'm just gonna face my fears and go through with it, and nothing can be worse than, what I went through already. So I'm just gonna go and try and be as courageous as possible. And I really, give that glory to God, because somehow I was able to slowly get over everything in my life that, in terms of fear, that controlled me. I really lived, I would say like most of my life, I lived like better safe than sorry, but that means that, fear would control my life most of the time. Like, no need to do this or do that, because better safe than sorry. Might as well stay in a home or in my dorm or wherever it is. But now I'm kind of the opposite, and like I need to do something. I need change. I need to feel like I'm progressing and growing. Working out has really helped me with that, in growing, and not just physically but spiritually. Just being determined, being courageous, trying to be strong, trying to be diligent. I never was really diligent before. I never was really my own person until I went through this whole ordeal at 21. And, not just because I went through it, or I should say rather, when I went through it the first time, I think part of the purpose was so that, I wouldn't be afraid of death anymore, and I'd grow closer to God and depend on His protection, but also so that I could become my own person, and not let fear take hold of me anymore. And I get like it's hard for everyone. Everyone has their own experiences with fear. But at the end of the day, I think the best cure for it is just to face your demons, and go to the doctors when you don't want to, or um, you know not be like, well, if I embarrass myself, whatever, like, um, I'm not gonna let public embarrassment be taking a hold of my life. I'm not gonna let fear take a hold of my life. So it took a long time. It wasn't immediate, the change, but it probably around 2 or 3 years after my surgery at 21, I was able to kind of overcome everything and settle down a little bit, and become my own person and be courageous. And obviously, all the glory to God for all that. So, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great Christmas and great rest of your day.